What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the April 22nd, 2023 edition of the SmackDown LowDown from today. We had Jackie Redmond, Matt Camp in the studio breaking down all the action from Friday. But before any of that, we had the best moment not only of this entire episode, but of any episode of the SmackDown LowDown in weeks, months, of all time. The episode opened in the same way that the episodes used to open a couple of weeks ago. They stopped doing this, where they would have Megan Moran walking through the backstage area, kind of hyping up the guests for the show and what to expect on this episode. They haven't done that in a while. They did that here, but instead of Megan, it was LA Knight opening the episode. And this was like a couple minutes long. It was LA Knight walking through the backstage area, just kind of bullshitting about what the draft is basically going to entail next week, the implications of it for himself and other superstars. He went around backstage interviewing random superstars he came across and then just kind of like walking up and like, all right, good luck with that, blah, blah, blah. It was fucking amazing. So he ran into and he talked to Natalya, Shotzi, Lacey Evans, who I forgot was even on the roster, Hit Row, again, forgot they were even on the roster, and the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge, and Butch. They kind of teased an LA Knight Butch match while they were still on the same show. Maybe we get that on SmackDown next week. They didn't announce that. His interaction with Sheamus was great. That whole thing was amazing. His line after walking away from Hit Row was great, just kind of no-selling their shit. Amazing. I could just stop the review there, and that's all the reason that you would need to check this out. I don't know if they're going to put that on their YouTube channel, because only on the YouTube channel did they put like the actual interviews. I mean, this was technically an interview, but it wasn't with Megan Moran or whatever, so... Unfortunately, that was the last of LA Knight we saw on the show. He was not conducting the interviews on this episode, but I thought that was glorious. In the studio, though, Camp and Redmond, like I mentioned, recapping the WWE Women's Tag Team title match, Liv Morgan and Raquel beating Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville to retain the tag team titles. Megan catches up with Liv and Raquel backstage. Again, they've been on Raw Talk and SmackDown LowDown like every week now, both shows for like 2 weeks straight. They're all over these shows. They're not really saying much of note, but they're all over these shows. So, Liv and Raquel kind of relish in their win from SmackDown, joke about taking a drink of water, because Raquel threw the water in Chelsea's face the same way that Chelsea threw the water in Liv's face on Monday's Raw. And I think Raquel mentions, if you mess with the bull, you get the crazy. That's what she said. Instead of you get the horns, you get the crazy, implying that it was from Liv Morgan, who I guess is still crazy from a couple of months ago, even though I thought they dropped that. Whatever. Matt Camp says they're only going to get better as champions. They've been tag team partners for mere weeks now. They're only going to improve the longer they stay together as champions. They recap the LWO loss to Judgment Day. They hype up Bad Bunny's return on Raw this coming Monday. They recap Gunther's Intercontinental Championship defense against Xavier Woods, his win over Woods on SmackDown. Megan catches up with Imperium backstage, and she asked about the draft and what it means to them. And Gunther says the draft does not matter to Imperium. They will dominate everywhere. Doesn't matter the show, continent, Raw, SmackDown. He doesn't really touch upon the idea that they could be split up. Camp and Redmond do. They don't, which I thought was weird. But Camp says that Gunther is not slowing down anytime soon as Intercontinental Champion, and he also thinks it doesn't matter if they get split up. They can divide and conquer and restore prestige to the sport, as they say, on Raw or SmackDown, or separately if it comes down to that. They hype up Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega for the SmackDown Women's Championship in Puerto Rico at Backlash in 2 weeks from now. We hear from Vega backstage with Megan, and she's so excited to be, getting the opportunity and representing Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico for this match before Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville interrupt. And they kind of say, oh, you're going to lose and you're a loser. They just kind of go back and forth. They make fun of Vega, and Vega says, well, at least I know what it's like to be a former tag team champion, unlike you two. And then Sonya goes, are you discriminating us because we have yet to become tag team champions? Which I thought was a funny line. Basically, Vega challenged Deville to a match next week. Deville accepted, and it just has to be made official. So very likely on SmackDown next Friday, before Vega faces Rhea at Backlash in 2 weeks, it's going to be Sonya against Vega one-on-one on SmackDown. I guess to make Vega look more like a threat for to the title, rather. Tongue twist there. More like a threat to the title before the match. So that's the purpose that match will serve. Speaking of which, they run down the Backlash card, including the very random match announced between Seth Rollins and Omos. I discussed that more in my SmackDown audio review from earlier, so check that out. In the studio, they recap the no disqualification main event between Matt Riddle and Solo Sikoa, being won by Sikoa, thanks to help from the Usos. And they also hype up and they also talk about how, like, the Bloodline, they were saying, oh, is dissension in the ranks? Are they going to break up? Blah, blah, blah. Is the breakup coming? I mean, it appears they appear to be stronger than ever. Heyman is throwing subtle shots at the Usos about, oh, you guys got to win back the tag team titles or there's going to be hell to pay, which is why I hope they fucking lose next week and we get progression of that story and they're not just back to being tag team champions. I am worried we're getting a title change next week and the reign of Owens and Zayn will be short-lived. But speaking of which, they do hype up that tag team title rematch for SmackDown Night 1 of the draft next Friday between the Usos, Zayn, and Owens. And that was SmackDown LowDown in a nutshell from today, April 22nd. Fine show, but again, like I said, go out of your way if it's not on the WWE YouTube channel to watch the first 2 or 3 minutes of the show with LA Knight confronting various superstars backstage. It was amazing entertainment. I wish we got that on SmackDown. I would not be opposed to him doing that more regularly, although I do want him on SmackDown in a more regular role regardless. Not as an interviewer, but as an in-ring competitor, actually winning matches. This was better than not featuring him at all, though. I thought this was great. So good stuff from SmackDown LowDown this week. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more daily content, and hit the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch your ass down the road.